Well, good morning, new floor in the shed. How are you doing today? Oh, and good morning to you, beginning farmer friends. Today, I want to talk about two unsung heroes on the farm. These are two very important things on the farm that if we didn't have them, it would make farming more difficult, or at least it would have made our start into farming more difficult and our continuing farming more difficult. The first one is this, the garden. The garden is almost done for the year. In fact, today my wife is going to begin kind of putting the garden to bed, pulling everything out of the garden. Let me give you a brief overview. This is the before today, and then at the end of the day we'll give you an after. Obviously a lot of things have died already. We've had multiple nights of frost. I am standing on some new seeding. I'm not standing on the plants, but I am standing on the patch of some new strawberries. We got rhubarb right here, green beans. There are carrots and other things back there. More carrots, more tomato plants. Obviously we took off all the tomatoes a couple of weeks ago. There was peppers in there. These were sweet potatoes, strawberries, a lot of strawberries everywhere. Sweet corn, potatoes. There's some flowers just in the middle over there. That's pretty. Over there we've got berries all along the back, asparagus. There is a lot of produce that comes out of this garden. I'll have to ask my wife how much produce comes out of this garden because it feeds our family of 8 for sure. Oh wait, I forgot to say that there was melons, like watermelon, cantaloupe all throughout here. Also along the fence there's been peas. I'm not getting all the food that comes out of this garden because I just can't keep track of it all. There's so much. I just asked my wife and she said she cans between 300 and 400 quarts of vegetables and produce from the garden. That's on top of what she freezes, dehydrates, and what we eat during the growing season. That is a lot of food, which is good because we have kids that eat lots of food. The other unsung hero on our farm is this stuff right here, firewood. We heat our house solely with firewood, and when we built the house 12 years ago, it was a decision we made to save money. It saved money when we were building the house because we didn't have to install a furnace and ductwork, and we think it saves us money year to year because we're heating with firewood. On top of that, we get to keep the house at 76 degrees in the winter. When it comes to cutting firewood, I'm kind of funny. I absolutely love cutting firewood. There's just something relaxing about it for me. But I am a fair weather friend when it comes to cutting firewood. And for me, the fair weather for cutting firewood is 40 degrees or below. So I often go into the winter without any firewood, and that's kind of the case today. Today, I have to cut firewood because tonight we're going to want to start a fire. Let me tell you a little bit about the history of firewood and heating with firewood and chainsaws and splitters on Crooked Gap Farm. That's our farm. The very first chainsaw I had, same brand as the chainsaw I have now, it was a Stihl. I picked it up at an auction. All I knew at the time was that I wanted a Stihl, so I bought the first one that I saw at this auction. It was a Stihl 009L. It was a small saw, not exactly a firewood saw. After 2 years, I burned that saw up. By that time, I was working at the farm store, so I wanted to step up into a better saw. That's when I got an MS 260 Pro. Amazing saw. I love that saw so much. In fact, I loved it so much that I sold it and got a bigger Pro saw, the Stihl MS 362R, which means it's got a wrap handle. When it came to splitting firewood, I started out with an axe, or I guess I should say multiple axes. No, not multiple axes, multiple handles. I didn't have very good aim. For about 3 years, that's all I split wood with was an axe by hand right over here. Eventually, I upgraded to a wood splitter. I made the decision to go to a splitter not so much because I didn't like splitting wood by hand. I actually liked splitting wood by hand, but I made the decision to go to the splitter because time. I was working in town and on the farm. The wood splitter, it freed up a lot of time for me, so I split with that thing now. The great thing about our farm is we have about 15 to 18, somewhere in there, acres of wood. So there is a lot of wood that we can harvest from our own farm. Plus, we've been able to accumulate some wood from time to time, like this pile of logs right here. That's what I'm gonna start cutting up right now. One more thing before I get started though. I was a trained Stihl technician. That's not a humble brag or anything. I just went to a class for 2 days in Illinois. One of the things that we did in the class was look at and read about and hear about all these chainsaw accidents, and so I am a pretty big proponent of chainsaw chaps, safety glasses, and also hearing protection. I'm gonna put on my chainsaw chaps even though I'm just cutting up logs on the ground. I'm gonna put on my safety glasses and my hearing protection, plus I can listen to a podcast then. While I've been working on Firewood, there's been a ton of work going on here in the garden. Remember, Unsung Hero, I would call this Unsung Hero number 1 actually. They've been pulling all the plants. There are still carrots here that need to be pulled. The tomato plants and the pepper plants, they have pulled all those. They're pulling all these, especially like the tomatoes, tomato plants and the leaves, so that there isn't any disease that hangs on from one year to the next. All the mulch down here, we use cornstalk bales. This has been breaking down all summer long. All of that's being pulled off. It's going to be moved over to the berries and mulched around there. The garden is really just being put to bed right now, but it has been productive this year. Super productive, and that's why I say it is like one of the most unsung heroes on the farm. So why do I keep calling the garden and the Firewood the 2 unsung heroes of the farm? It's kind of a long story. I'm going to try to make it very short, and then someday we'll get into the longer part of the story. When we moved here, we were beginning farmers in every sense of the word. In fact, beyond that, we were first-time home buyers, first-time landowners. We were building a house, plus we had 2 kids with one on the way as we were going through the building process. We had saved up money knowing that at one point we would want to buy a house, although when we were saving it, we didn't know we would be buying a farm and building a house. In order to get all of this going, we had to be as frugal as possible. One of the ways that we decided to be frugal was to heat with wood. Not only did we think it would save us money in the long run, but it also saved us money up front. I don't remember what the numbers were at the time, but they were substantial enough that it was a pretty easy decision for us to decide to go with the wood burning stove method instead of a traditional furnace. So for more than a decade, we've been taking advantage of this, the natural resources on our farm. Not the living trees, but the dead ones like this one standing right here. We've been utilizing all of that firewood to keep our house warm. I realized while I was down here that I hadn't shown you guys the woods before. I don't honestly get down here very often all year long, but especially in the summer. This is the ravine that kind of cuts through the bottom 1/5 of our property. This side we can't really use right now because we just don't have a good way to get to it. We don't have a good way to fence it on the south border. We do want to eventually get back there though, because roughly 20 years ago, maybe a little bit more, there was a seeding of oak and walnut placed back there. So it's really pretty back there. That other unsung hero that I've been talking about all day is this garden. The amount of fruits and vegetables that we eat is incredible. In fact, I probably can't even fathom how much money we save and how high quality of food that we eat because of this garden. This year, this garden not only produced enough for our family to eat and sustain us for the coming year until the garden starts producing again, but my wife was able to sell a lot of the overabundance from this small garden at our farmer's market. This is a huge piece of what allows us to farm and have this farm and everything that goes with it. This is one of those unsung heroes of our farm. Now, of course, there are a ton of other things that we do to save money on the farm. Things related to livestock, the business, the home, the kids, the family. There are a lot of ways that we save money on the farm, but these 2 are on the top of my mind today because my wife is putting the garden to bed and I'm working on the firewood. The fact that we're still here 12 years in, I think has a lot to do with the frugal choices that we've made along the way. The pigs like the deep bedding. Thank you all for coming along on the ride with me today, and every time that you watch the videos, of course. Have a great day, whatever you are doing. I'm gonna go park the tractor, hook up a bunch of trailers, move a lot of stuff. There's a lot going on still today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, The Beginning Farmer. You know what to do. You guys are awesome.